Did you know that in some cultures, people in their 80s and even 90s still walk for miles, rise from the ground effortlessly, and live with total independence? Meanwhile, here, thousands lose their strength shortly after turning 60 and end up trapped by canes, pills, and even beds. What's their secret? I'm Dr. Ana Esperanza, a longevity specialist, and today I'm going to reveal 5 exercises so simple yet so forgotten that they can give you back your independence. Before we begin, write in the comments, I choose independence until 90. That gesture connects you to a truth almost no one dares to share. Stay with me until the end, because the difference between aging limited or living as master of your life might lie in the next few minutes. Picture this: a 62-year-old man, freshly retired, who dreamed of traveling, playing with his grandchildren, and finally enjoying his free time. But within months, a nearly invisible detail began to change everything. At first, he struggled to get up from his chair. Then he noticed climbing stairs demanded unusual effort. In less than 2 years, his life had shrunk to medical appointments, painkillers, and the constant fear of falling. This story is not rare. It is the portrait of millions crossing the invisible line of fragility after 60. Sedentarism, so normalized, works like a silent prison. It doesn't hurt right away, doesn't scream for help, but drains day after day the strength that should carry decades of active living. Now compare this to a village in Japan. People in their mid-80s and even 90s walk miles daily, tend to their gardens, sit on the floor to share meals, and rise with the ease of someone decades younger. What separates these two worlds? Not miracle genetics, nor expensive supplements. The answer is movement, but not just any movement. It is ancestral patterns, woven into daily routines that keep muscles alive and joints awake. The problem is that modern Western life has destroyed these patterns. We spend hours in chairs that stiffened our hips, rely on elevators that robbed our legs of strength, take medications that mask pain instead of restoring vitality. The result? By 60, many already live as if they were 90. And this is where the first exercise comes in. Simple, discreet, nearly forgotten, yet powerful enough to reverse the decline. But before revealing it, you must understand an invisible enemy: sarcopenia. Few know this word, but it describes the progressive loss of muscle mass with age. It is as if muscles are slowly erased in silence. At 40, you still feel strong. At 50, maybe just some fatigue. But by 60, if nothing is done, this loss becomes irreversible frailty. And don't be fooled. Sarcopenia affects more than strength. It compromises balance, coordination, even mental health. Studies show loss of muscle mass is directly linked to increased depression and fatal falls. Here lies the darkest truth. This is not inevitable. The aging industry, the one that profits from wheelchairs, pain meds, nursing homes, and surgeries, wants you to believe decline is natural. After all, an independent elder generates no revenue. But the secret they don't share is brutally simple. There are exercises that awaken dormant fibers, reignite reflexes, and bring back years of vitality. The first may sound trivial, but it hides surprising power. It is the act of rising from the ground without using your hands. Sounds easy? Try it now. Sit on the floor, cross your legs, and attempt to stand without your arms. For many over 60, it feels impossible, but therein lies the test and the solution. This movement activates hips, abdomen, thighs, even spinal muscles, a complete package of independence. It trains the body to work as one, restoring forgotten patterns. Brazilian researchers even developed the sit-to-stand test, which predicts longevity with startling accuracy. The less support you need to rise, the greater your chances of living longer and better. This isn't fiction. It's science ignored because it doesn't sell. After all, no one can profit from a movement as simple as sitting and standing. Think carefully. How many times a day do you sit in a chair, on a couch, or on your bed? And how often do you truly challenge your muscles to do the full work? No hands, no tricks. That effort is what Japanese elders keep alive, because their homes still value sitting on tatami mats, on the floor. Each meal, each gathering, becomes training for muscles that in the West wither away in silence. But this is only the beginning. The first exercise restores hip mobility, strengthens the body's foundation, and builds the base for all other movements. And here's the frightening part. If you cannot do it today, it means you've already lost a significant share of your functional reserve. It is as if your autonomy is being drained drop by drop. Picture what this means in daily life. Not being able to rise alone after a bathroom fall, needing help to get out of a chair, feeling panic as every step carries the risk of imbalance. This is how dependence begins, and this is precisely what the first exercise fights against. Now close your eyes and imagine yourself 10 years from now, still able to rise from the floor with the same ease as today. That is not just physical strength, it is dignity, it is independence. It is the difference between being a spectator of your life or its protagonist. Sedentarism, when accepted as destiny, is a silent death sentence. But this simple movement is the key that can unlock the cell. Many Japanese elders keep this practice alive without even naming it exercise. It is woven into their lives. That naturalness is what the West has lost. In place of ancestral movement, we chose technology, soft chairs, deep couches. Without realizing it, we traded vitality for convenience. And here lies something darker still. Doctors know these movements preserve autonomy, yet rarely teach them. Not because they don't work, but because the system doesn't encourage it. Hospitals and clinics are pressed for time, pressured to prescribe pills, and the idea that simple exercises could prevent hospitalizations sounds almost subversive. Some professionals admit privately that the best prescription would be movement, but they stay silent in a system that profits more from illness than health. That silence is costly. Each person who loses the ability to rise alone adds to the statistics of falls, hip fractures, prolonged hospital stays. Each early fragility turns into a dependent patient, and each dependent patient means profit for the machinery of aging. But there is a way out. Reclaiming this first movement is reclaiming a symbol of resistance. It is telling your body, I'm still in control. It is rejecting the narrative that aging means inevitable loss of strength and autonomy. It is no miracle. It is habit, a habit built daily through small repetitions that together transform destiny. And yet, this is only the beginning. Because the second exercise, seemingly even more trivial, hides a devastating impact few know about. It not only strengthens but exposes a hidden risk silently accelerating fragility. And what we uncover in the second exercise is even more disturbing. The human body is a machine of adaptation, but also of forgetting. What is not used is erased. By the age of 60, most people have spent decades confined to chairs, sofas, and armchairs that molded their muscles into inactivity. It's as if the body had forgotten how to hold itself. Fragility doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in like a shadow, almost imperceptible, until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. The second exercise I'm about to reveal seems so simple that many will laugh, but precisely because of that, it is neglected. And it is this neglect that destroys more lives than you might imagine. Think about walking. How many adults over 60 can still walk 10, 15, 20 minutes without extreme exhaustion, aching knees, or gasping for air? Walking should be natural, yet it has become a challenge because leg strength and core stability have been abandoned. The second exercise is walking, but not the way you think. It is mindful walking, done on uneven ground, where every step demands balance, focus, and control. Unlike treadmills or flat hallways, walking on varied terrain forces the body to react, strengthens ankles, awakens stabilizing muscles, and trains reflexes that can mean the difference between a fatal fall and safety. In Japan, the elderly walk through narrow streets, up hills, along small village paths. This variety keeps the body awake. Here in the West, flat sidewalks and the obsession with comfort killed this invisible training. The hidden risk is clear. When an unexpected obstacle appears, a loose rug, a misjudged step, the body doesn't respond. And a single fall is enough to trigger the spiral of dependence. A hip fracture can steal years of life, turn independence into captivity, and forced someone to surrender to their greatest fear, needing constant care. I once witnessed a patient's story that perfectly illustrates this abyss. His name was Antonio. He was 78 years old and had spent nearly a decade locked in a sedentary routine. Television, medication, endless naps. One day, he tripped on his living room rug. The fall itself wasn't serious, but he couldn't get back up on his own. That small detail shattered his confidence. Fear took root, and within weeks, he avoided walking altogether. Without challenge, his body weakened even further. When I first met Antonio, he already used a walker, though no medical condition truly justified it. We began with short walks in controlled settings, then moved to paths with small irregularities. In less than 6 months, Antonio regained balance, confidence, and strength. The man who had given up leaving home now walked daily around the block. His transformation was so powerful that even his neighbors began to copy him. Antonio's story reveals the essence of the second exercise. It's not just walking, but walking while challenging the body, facing small instabilities that rebuild its ability to react. This is how falls are prevented, not with pills, not with crutches, but with real training. This is how autonomy, so easily stolen, is recovered. But there is a third exercise, and it is even more unsettling, not because of its difficulty, but because it exposes a taboo no one talks about. It focuses on the hips and spine, regions that hold the essence of mobility. Losing flexibility there means losing access to your own body. Many believe that after 60, such loss is inevitable. They are wrong. The third exercise is sitting on the floor, rising onto your knees, then lowering back down, repeating the motion slowly, almost like a controlled dance. It demands stretching, coordination, and hip and spinal strength, restoring abilities you may have thought lost forever. For those already stiff, the impact is brutal. The first attempts seem impossible, but with each effort, dormant muscles awaken, forgotten joints move again, and little by little the body remembers. The most disturbing part is what this reveals. Most people over 60 avoid the floor altogether. The fear of not being able to get back up becomes a prison. But it is precisely this avoidance that accelerates decline. Refusing the movement condemns the body to permanent loss. In Japan, elders still use the floor daily, for meals, for conversation, for rest. Without realizing it, they practice this exercise every single day. Here we treat the floor like an enemy, and we pay the price with stiff hips, rigid spines, and weakened joints. The psychological impact of this exercise is massive. Imagine an older adult who spends years depending on others to help them stand. That sense of uselessness corrodes the spirit. But when they discover they can still move on their own, something shifts. It's not just the body that is reborn, it's the mind. Confidence returns, fear retreats, life regains color. I recall a woman named Helena, 74 years old, labeled frail by her doctor. She relied on a special chair for nearly every activity and lived under the shadow of depression. When she first heard about this exercise, she laughed. She said it was impossible, but she tried anyway. At first, she barely managed to lean forward. Weeks later, she could rise to her knees. Months later, she stood from the floor without assistance. Every victory lit her eyes with pride. Soon, Helena not only moved independently, but played on the floor with her grandchildren once more. What seemed forever lost was restored. Stories like hers are dangerous to the system. They reveal that fragility is not destiny but a cultural choice, that independence doesn't require expensive equipment, only simple movements, and that the aging industry would rather sell complex solutions than admit the truth. The secret lies in ancient free practices. The second exercise teaches conscious walking. The third restores hip and spinal flexibility. Together they form a shield against the fragility that the West accepts as fate. But we still haven't reached the most critical point, because there is a fourth exercise that touches directly on the deepest taboo, the link between strength, aging, and the hidden profits of those who benefit from your dependence. And that is not even the worst part. Every step you've taken so far has cracked the wall of fragility. The first movement restored the lost foundation. The second awakened balance. The third freed hips and spine, from a rigidity that seemed inevitable. But now we enter more dangerous territory. Movements that not only strengthen, but also expose the taboo of aging turned into business. This is where many turn away, because the truth is hard to face. There are no miracles, no golden pills. There is effort, and effort is precisely what the modern health system does not want you to discover. The fourth exercise seems almost provocative. It is the simple act of squatting fully, feet flat on the ground, holding that position for a few seconds, then slowly standing again. In the East, this posture remains natural. People rest in it, talk in it, even eat in it. In the West, it has become nearly impossible. Decades of chairs have atrophied ankles, weakened calves, stolen hip mobility. Attempting to squat exposes brutally how much the body has forgotten. But it is in that discomfort that the key lies. Each second spent squatting activates deep muscular chains, strengthens knees, stretches tendons, and reignites the primitive instinct of balance. Here's what few realize. Those who maintain the ability to squat rarely lose their independence, because squatting is not just an exercise. It is a hidden code of autonomy. It is the gesture that lets you pick something up from the ground, rise without effort, reclaim what you drop. To lose it is to lose the bridge between active life and silent dependence. In many nursing homes, you'll see elders who cannot bend at all. They rely on others for the simplest tasks. And that is where the machine of the aging industry strikes hardest. Every incapacity becomes a paid service, every limitation a business opportunity. I remember a disturbing scene in one of those homes. An 82-year-old man, lucid, mentally sharp, cried because he couldn't bend to tie his shoes. It wasn't illness. It wasn't injury. It was simply the loss of a basic movement. And that loss condemned him to rely on caregivers for intimate, personal, non-negotiable gestures. Imagine the psychological blow. It's not just physical weakness. It's humiliation, the slow erosion of identity. The fourth exercise gives dignity back. With progressive practice, squatting strengthens the base, reactivates reflexes, and prepares the body to carry the weight of its own life. But if that already feels uncomfortable, wait until you hear about the fifth exercise, the most symbolic and at the same time, the most feared. The fifth movement is walking in a nearly primitive form, crawling forward on 4 points, hands and feet on the ground, moving arms and legs alternately like a child. Yes, it may sound strange, even ridiculous, but this pattern is a forgotten jewel. It links core strength, neuromuscular coordination, and spinal mobility in a way no gym machine can replicate. It restores to the body what modernity stole, total integration. Each crawl activates muscles abandoned for decades, reignites neural connections dulled by sedentarism, and returns to the brain the sensation of commanding the whole body. The impact is profound. Elders who practice this movement rediscover not only strength but confidence. They realize they can still hold themselves, still react, still defy the weight of years. The taboo is so strong that many refuse to try, thinking it beneath them. But the true horror lies in the alternative, living chained to a bed, unable to rise without help. Crawling, no matter how odd it looks, is an act of rebellion, a ritual of resistance, a reminder to the body, there is still life, there is still fight. Now think about the connection between these exercises and what the system hides. As long as you believe aging means surrendering to canes, wheelchairs, and ever-expanding prescriptions, the aging industry thrives like a colossal shadow. Hospitals profit from hip surgeries. Pharmacies grow rich off painkillers. Nursing homes turn fragility into revenue streams. It is a cruel game where your independence is the currency. The sooner you become dependent, the sooner you feed the machine. But when someone learns these movements and practices them, even quietly, they break the cycle. They become less profitable for the system. An elder who can rise alone, walk in balance, squat to retrieve an object, and even crawl across the floor becomes invisible to the industry. Invisible because they don't generate revenue. Invisible because they never join the dependency statistics. Invisible because they dared to resist. And here lies the greatest shock. These movements are not mere exercises. They are codes of freedom. Alone, they reverse years of frailty. Together, they form a shield against premature dependence. They are the keys to a truth society once forgotten. Autonomy is possible, but it requires practice. It requires discipline. And it requires courage to confront the comfort that weakens. You may be wondering, what if it's too late? What if my body is already too frail? The answer is harsh, yet liberating. It is never too late to awaken sleeping muscles. Each repetition, no matter how small, sends a message to your body. It's not over. And that message may be the line dividing those who surrender from those who fight until the end. Japanese elders do not carry a genetic secret. They carry habits. Habits the West abandoned in favor of speed, convenience, and profit. As long as we believe fragility is destiny, we will feed a system that thrives on our weakness. But when we choose the opposite path, even silently, we carve a crack in that machine, and a crack can change everything. You now know 4 movements. You have faced the 5th, the strangest and most powerful of them all. But there is still something unsaid. There is a secret threshold hidden within these exercises, one that can completely change the way you see aging. That threshold is so unsettling most prefer to ignore it. But without understanding it, all effort may be in vain. There is a secret limit no one dares to mention. Until now, we have reached the point most prefer to avoid, the secret threshold that separates those who age with dignity from those who become prisoners of their own fragility. For decades, you've been told this threshold was genetic, written into your DNA, unchangeable. But the truth is far more disturbing. That limit is not biological. It is cultural. It is imposed. It is constructed by a modern lifestyle that pulls us further each day from the movements that sustain autonomy. The human body was never designed to spend life in chairs, cars, and couches. It was built to squat, to walk, to rise from the ground, to crawl, to use muscles in harmony with the world around it. When we abandon those patterns, we pay the price in atrophied muscles, weak joints, dulled reflexes. And the cruelest part, we are told that this decay is natural, when in reality it is manufactured. Here is the revelation. Independence is not a matter of luck or privileged genetics. It is a matter of habit. The barrier that chains so many into decline is not physical. It is mental. The belief that nothing can be done is the true prison. As long as you accept fragility as destiny, the body obeys and gives up. But when you dare to challenge that narrative, when you practice movements as ancient as humanity itself, the body responds. It wakes. It rebuilds. It proves it can do far more than you've been led to believe. It is no coincidence that in countries like Japan, where these patterns still live within daily routines, fragility is delayed for decades. It isn't genetics. It isn't miracle. It isn't medicine. It is culture. It is practice. It is silent resistance against decay. And that is precisely what the West hides. Because admitting that the solution is simple, free habits threatens the billion-dollar machinery of the aging industry. And now, 2 paths stand before you. The first is to keep believing the comfortable story, that age is an invincible enemy, that dependence is inevitable, that your fate is already written. That path is easy, but it leads to lost autonomy, confinement in beds and chairs, and the silence of resignation. The second path is harder, but infinitely more valuable. To resist that destiny with practice, with discipline, with courage. You now know the 5 movements. They don't require expensive equipment, sophisticated gyms, or miracle recipes. They demand one decision: to move. Every repetition is a declaration of independence. Every effort is a way of telling your body, I am still in control. Every small victory is a fracture in the system that profits from your weakness. But beware, this knowledge is not for everyone. Many will listen, nod, and return to the couch. Few will have the courage to apply it. Few will endure the initial discomfort. Few will face the weight of knowing they could change their destiny but chose not to try. And those few will pay the highest price, the awareness that they could have lived free but settled for prison. You don't have to be among them. You can choose to join the minority who resist, who defy, who prove independence is possible at 80, 90, or beyond. And if you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step. Now it is up to you to decide whether you'll turn this knowledge into practice or let it fade away like so many before you. Before we close, I want you to write in the comments, "I choose independence." That phrase is more than symbolic. It is the beginning of a pact with yourself. It is the invisible signature that you reject the narrative of fragility. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because here I will continue revealing the secrets no one wants you to know, the movements and habits that can free your body and mind from the prison of profitable aging. The secret threshold is not in your muscles, it is in your decision. The future you will have depends on what you choose today. You can accept the darkness of dependence or embrace the unsettling light of the truths we've just uncovered. The choice is yours, and the time to make it is now.